Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Off the Shelf. It is November, so we're going to be talking about our November theme for the 2021 EAPL Reading Challenge, which is award winners. In terms of picking a book for this, it is super easy. There are lots of different awards out there, so you can absolutely find something that appeals to you. I will say I have sort of a love-hate relationship with book awards. I think that it's great that they recognize excellence in writing, but I think sometimes it can be, they pick the same kind of books all the time. And so, obviously, if you're talking about like the Hugo Awards that focus on science fiction, of course they're picking science fiction books. But even within science fiction, there's a really wide range. And there's just a lot of awards that I think go to the same type of books over and over and over again. And there's actually been a lot of controversy surrounding a number of the different awards that I'm going to touch on over the last several years because of things like that and claims of racism, sexism, things like that. So if you are interested in taking a little bit more of a deep dive into some of these awards, especially in the areas that you're most interested in, I absolutely recommend that you do so. I will say the other thing that I really have a problem with book awards relates specifically to children's book awards, because again, I think it's great that they are recognizing excellence, but I think that quite often the books that are winning the awards in children's fiction in particular are not the books that kids actually want to read. And, the people picking the books for these awards are not children. It's not the audience that was intended. And then you have other adults who say, well, this is a good book, so you need to read this book. And then they're forcing kids to read award winners because they're worthy and worthwhile books. And then kids are like, I hate this, I don't want to read. Instead of letting them just read whatever, actually interests them. Like, do I love Captain Underpants? No. But kids do, and I'd rather kids be excited about reading the next Captain Underpants book than feel like they have to slog through, Shiloh or something. So that's just me. That's my soapbox for today. But let's go ahead and talk about some books and the awards that they've won. We're going to start with Against the Loveless World by Susan Abulhawa. I hope that's okay. This won the 2020 Palestine Book Award. The Palestine Book Awards were started, I have notes down here, that's why I'm looking down, in 2012 to honor new books written in English that have something to do with Palestine. So this particular author is Palestinian American. She actually lives here in Pennsylvania, and she wrote this book which is about a young Palestinian refugee born in Kuwait to refugee parents. And she just dreams of, finding a guy, getting married, opening her own beauty salon, like normal life. And then the US invades Iraq or I guess we could say like they do on the news, Iraq. And she finds herself a refugee now crossing through Jordan and into Palestine. So over the course of this, she becomes radicalized, and this book takes you on that journey with her. So if you are interested in stories about the Middle East, if you are interested in how a young person might come to be radicalized, then absolutely give this one a shot. Like I said, it was the 2020 Palestine Book Award winner. And then we have, this is a large print edition. This is The World That We Knew by Alice Hoffman. And it is the 2020 Dayton Literary Peace Prize winner. And the Dayton Literary Peace Prize began in 2006. It's the first and only U.S. literary award that recognizes the power of the written word to promote peace. So that sounds awesome, right? Alice Hoffman, I'm most familiar with her because she has written witchy books, and I like witchy books. This book, I'm a little unclear on what it's about. I have read the synopsis a bunch of times, and there's something not sticking for me. But it follows a couple of girls. This girl, what is her name? See, that's part of the problem. The synopsis doesn't make clear who's who at first. So this girl, Leah, her mom sends her to stay with a rabbi, hoping to get her away from the Nazis. This is a World War II era book. And she and the rabbi's daughter become friends. The rabbi's daughter's name is Ettie. And then Ettie makes a golem, which is part of Jewish mythology, but it is a walking, talking being. And then apparently this follows the two girls and the golem over time. Someone please read this book and give me a clearer understanding of what's happening here, because I'm fuzzy on what the actual plot is. I don't know if it's just like we're gonna see what happens to these girls in, Nazi era Europe. I'm not sure. So someone please read this book and let me know what actually is happening. Then we have Flamer by Mike Curato, which is the 2020 Lambda Award winner for YA. And this is actually a graphic novel also. So they don't have a separate category, the Lambdas, for graphic novels, but they do for YA. And this is the YA winner for 2020. And it is about a boy named Aiden who he's got some issues. He's got some self-hatred going on. He says he's not gay because gay boys like other boys, and he hates other boys. Other boys are scary, and they're always doing horrible things. And then he goes to summer camp, and he's freaked out because, this is the summer for him between middle school and high school. There's already a lot going on without having some, lack of clarity on your own sexuality and who you are and all of that. And then he's at summer camp, and so the stakes feel really, really high for him. And so he's trying to navigate, friendships and dealing with bullying and spending time with this new boy that he can't stop thinking about. But, he's not gay because gay is bad. And he has to kind of learn to accept himself for who he is. And that is what this one is about. The Lambda Awards they were started in 1989 to garner national visibility for LGBTQ books. And today they celebrate more than 150 LGBTQ writers across 24 categories every single year. So these are big awards. There's a lot of different books that win them for various reasons. But Flamer is a YA winner from 2020. Then we have All the Devils Are Here by Louise Penny. And this is a 2020 Agatha Award winner for Best Contemporary Novel. If you are a mystery reader, you're probably already familiar with Louise Penny. This is one of her Inspector Gamache books, and it follows the inspector and his family. And they have gone to dinner in Paris with Armand, the inspector, with his godfather. Then after they leave the restaurant and they're walking down the sidewalk, the older man, the godfather, is hit. It doesn't say by a car or what, I'm assuming by a car. And it looks accidental, but Armand's like, this ain't no accident. And he decides he's gonna investigate things. He finds a suspicious key on him that leads him to the top of the Eiffel Tower. Then when he gets back to the older gentleman's apartment. He finds a really like sinister scene, and it creates a lot more questions and unearths a bunch of secrets, not only in this man's life, but in Armand's life and his own family, because they have been so intertwined. So if you haven't read this one yet, you absolutely should. Like I said, it's a 2020 Agatha Award winner. The Agatha Awards are named for Agatha Christie. They celebrate traditional mystery, best typified by the works of Agatha Christie. So generally speaking, they don't contain explicit sex, excessive gore, or gratuitous violence, and they're not considered hard-boiled. There are several different categories of this. This one is the best contemporary novel. There's also historical, short stories, things like that. So if you're into mystery, give this one a look. And then we have A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine, which is a 2020 Hugo Award winner for Best Novel. And the Hugo Awards were first presented in 1953. They're presented annually to science fiction winners. Fantasy and horror can also be eligible. It's kind of at the discretion of the members of Worldcon who vote on and determine the winners. Hugo is one of the awards that had a bunch of controversy over the last several years. I want to say in 2016, a number of nominees actually declined their nominations over the controversy. So if you are interested in kind of diving into the issues surrounding the Hugo Awards and the fact that they, for a very, very long time, were given to white men, and there was a group of people that wanted it to stay that way, then definitely do a little Google search on that. You will fall down a rabbit hole. But this is A Memory Called Empire, and it is about a new ambassador who arrives at the center of this multi-system empire and discovers that her predecessor is dead. And nobody wants to say that this wasn't an accidental death, but it totally wasn't an accidental death. And she's, worried that she's gonna be next. So she's got to figure out who's behind the murder and rescue herself and save the station, this mining station where she's at, during this whole time of political instability. And there's a huge deadly technological secret going on that could spell disaster for everything. So if you're into some sci-fi, this is absolutely one to check out. As I said, it won the 2020 Hugo Award for Best Novel, and it sounds really interesting. I kind of want them to make this into a movie, because I don't know that I will get around to reading it, but I would absolutely watch it, Next. This book wins my award for the longest subtitle. It is The Undying Pain, Vulnerability, Mortality, Medicine, Art, Time, Dreams, Data, Exhaustion, Cancer, and Care by Anne Boyer. It won the 2020 Pulitzer for nonfiction. And it is a examination, I guess, of cancer care in the United States. The author was diagnosed with highly aggressive breast cancer just after her 41st birthday, and she finds herself in this world that she had no idea about, and then starts to examine all the different aspects of it. So it's not, it's not a memoir about I was diagnosed with cancer and I'm here on the other side, woohoo. It's looking at cancer vloggers and hoaxers and the ecological costs of chemotherapy and the whole pink ribbon culture and the hypocrisies of some of that. So this is a really, what's the word? She's analyzing this. It's not a, cancer sucks, but I'm here sort of book. But if you are interested in the cancer framework of the United States, then I think that this one is definitely one for you to check out. As I said, it won the Pulitzer Prize in 2020 for nonfiction. The Pulitzers began in 1917 as an incentive to excellence in journalism, letters and drama, education, music, and art. So there are lots and lots of categories of Pulitzer Prizes, and there were actually 2 winners in nonfiction in 2020. I can't remember what the other one was off the top of my head, but I think we know the Pulitzer's best for journalism. And there's a bunch of different categories of winners in journalism, but there's also, for books and things like that. And then we have Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, which was the 2019 Booker Prize winner. This was a joint winner with Margaret Atwood's Testaments. So she's in good company there. But this is a book that follows 12 characters. Most of them are Black British women. And you just are following the stories of their lives and their families, friends, lovers, all of that through the years in England. And I feel like I've talked about this book before, but I went back and looked at my notes and I couldn't find that I had. So if I have, I apologize. But if not, absolutely give this one a look. As I said, it won the Booker Prize, which is an English prize. They call it the leading literary award in the English-speaking world. And it has brought recognition, reward, and readership to outstanding fiction over 5 decades. That's what they say. I definitely think that when books win these awards, that there is a group of people that are like, oh, well, now I need to read it. I think when they see things like this, that say the Booker Prize winner, they're like, oh, then it must be good. I need to read it. So they're not wrong. They definitely are providing a readership there. But this one, I think if you are interested in sort of slice of life, Black British women, this is absolutely one to take a look at. The Booker Awards, just side note, I am recording this on November 4th. The Booker Awards were announced for 2021 last night. So there's brand new winners for 2021. If you go online, you can see who won the Booker Prizes for this year. Next, we have 10 Things I Hate About the Duke, which is a take on 10 Things I Hate About You, by Loretta Chase, which was the 2021 Vivian Award winner for historical romance in the long format. The Vivian Awards, this is the first year that they've awarded them. It is the new flagship awards for the Romance Writers of America, and up until 2019, or through 2019, they were awarding the Rita Award. And then in 2020, there was a huge storm of controversy about how the same white ladies kept winning the award every year, and there was no diversity in the awards that were supposedly for excellence in romance writing, despite the fact that there were so many different, diverse authors writing romance. So they canceled the awards last year entirely, and then they decided, that's it, we're done with the Ritas, we're gonna start the Vivian Awards, and it's a whole new thing. And then a bunch of the Vivian Award winners were also white women, but yeah. So, including Loretta Chase. Anyway, if you are interested in romance, though, it's definitely check out the Ritas and the Vivian Awards. They're both on the Romance Writers of America's website. This particular book is about a woman who has a lot of opinions, and she didn't want to keep them to herself, and during the time in which she lives, that's just not okay. People want women to be pretty and decorative and not have a lot of thoughts. So her dad thinks the way he's going to solve this problem, because he has to solve this problem, is to find her husband. And the best way to find her husband and kind of light a fire under her is to say, well, your younger sister can't get married until you do. So now her beloved younger sister, who everyone loves and would have no problem finding a husband, has to wait for her to get married first, and that's going to be an issue. So along comes this Duke, and he's super good looking. The problem is he's got more character flaws than you can count, and he's already lost himself one fiance because of his own just, carelessness, which, what are you doing that you're so careless? You're losing fiancés. Like, how does that happen? But yeah, it's a romance. So, spoiler, they're gonna fall in love, and then it's all gonna be good, and her sister can find someone to marry, and it'll be great. But if you are looking for a historical romance, then you won't go wrong with this one. It's definitely a fun option. And I mean, any book that has a play on words and a thing with a duke, like, come on, that's gonna be fun, right? So check that out. Then we have Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro, who this book won the 1989 Booker Prize, but then Ishiguro won the 2017 Nobel Prize for Literature. So with the Nobel Prize, it can be awarded either for a specific work. Ernest Hemingway won it specifically for The Old Man and the Sea, but Ishiguro, and this is much more common, Ishiguro won it as a writer. And so they kind of took into account his entire body of work, his oeuvre. And the Nobel Prize, I think we're more familiar with the Nobel Prize in terms of like science and the Nobel Peace Prize and things like that. But it was first awarded in 1901. There have been 7 different years when it wasn't awarded at all. But the idea, anyway, is to award it to a person, this is a quote, who shall have produced in the field of literature the most outstanding work in an ideal direction. That leaves it super open to interpretation, because what is an ideal direction? I don't know. And honestly, I couldn't find a lot of information on the website about their selection criteria. So I'm curious, how they decide this. Now, I picked Ishiguro as an example of a Pulitzer Prize winner, or not Pulitzer Prize, I'm sorry, Nobel Prize winner, because I think that he's a brilliant writer. And if you haven't read him, you absolutely should. Remains of the Day, this of course is a movie tie-in version, which I hate. Stop doing this. They won't stop doing this. But this is a movie tie-in because there was a movie with, now I'm gonna totally blank, Anthony Hopkins and Emma, what is her name? Emma somebody? All I think is Emma Watson, but she's Hermione. That's a totally different person. Anyway, the story follows an English butler who is recalling his life, and now he's into the post-war era. So the world in which he lives has changed dramatically, and he's taking this country drive and recalling the world as it was, and the love that he had for the housekeeper that he worked with, and kind of thinking about whether the man that he served was actually a good man or not. So it's really good. It's really good. I don't know what else to say about it. You should absolutely read it. You should absolutely read other Ishiguro books. Yeah, Remains of the Day, Nobel Prize. Then we have a much bigger book here. This is The Dead Are Arising, The Life of Malcolm X by Les Payne. And it was a 2020 National Book Award winner for nonfiction and a 2021 Pulitzer Prize winner for biography. So this one's a double fister on the awards there. The National Book Award, their mission is to celebrate the best literature in America, expand its audience, and ensure that books have a prominent place in American culture. So again, that sounds great, but you know, they only pick a certain type of book because that's the best. And it's very subjective what the best is. It was first awarded in 1950. This particular book is, this author embarked on this journey in 1990 to talk to every living person he could find that was connected in some way to Malcolm X, to put together a comprehensive picture of his life. So he tracked down his siblings, he talked to people from the Nation of Islam, he talked to FBI moles and cops and, you know, political leaders that had met Malcolm X, and he has put together, they're calling it an unprecedented portrait of Malcolm X. So it's not small. This is a heavy book. But if you are interested in the life of Malcolm X, then this is the book for you. If you are interested in his role in civil rights movement, his, you know, how he kind of got to that point, then you absolutely need to check this out. And very obviously, the fact that it won these two major awards in the last 2 years is due in part to our current political and cultural climate. So that's something to also think about when you're looking at books that have won awards, is the time frame in which they won them. What's the context there? So this makes perfect sense that it won two major awards during this time period. But absolutely, if you are at all interested in Malcolm X and the civil rights movement and things like that, this is one you should read. I just have two more for you. This is gonna be a really long video, I'm sorry. We have A Particular Kind of Black Man by, oh, I should have looked up how to pronounce this man's name. How do you think you pronounce his name? Tope? Tope? Topi? I don't know. I'm sorry. Fullerin. Yeah, should have looked that one up. I apologize. This book won the 2021 Whiting Award, and then the author won the 2013 Cain Prize for African Writing. So the Whiting Award was established in 1985, and it supports creative writing by giving awards to emerging writers in fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and drama. And then the Cain Prize for African Writing, which he actually won for a short story, is a registered charity whose aim is to bring African writing to a wider audience. And in addition to administering the prize, they also work to connect readers with African writers through a series of public events. So if you are interested in learning more about African writers, then absolutely take a look at what is happening with the Cain Prize and AKO, who administer the Cain Prize, because they're doing a lot. This particular book is about a boy who his parents are Nigerian born, but he's growing up in Utah, and you know, dealing with the everyday racism, microaggressions, all that jazz that a Nigerian kid in Utah is going to encounter. And his dad is forever the optimist. He's working really hard to achieve that American dream. His mom, on the other hand, suffers from schizophrenia, and she is really lonely. She doesn't have friends and family there. And one morning she decides she's gonna pack up this boy and his baby brother and just leave. So obviously this is not a solution to her problems, but she flees back to Nigeria, and this little boy, who didn't really feel at home in Utah, but that's the only home he knew, now he's never going to feel at home again, because he ends up in Texas at some point. He's all over the place, and nobody shares the same cultural touchstones that he does, because you have to think, like, growing up with Nigerian parents in Utah is one thing. Then going to Nigeria when you've been living in Utah is something very, very different, despite the fact that your family is Nigerian. And then in Texas, when you encounter a whole bunch of Texan African Americans, like, that's again a whole other thing, right? And this poor kid, this is a journey. It's a journey for him. So if you are interested in that, then absolutely check this book out. I haven't read it, but it sounds very, very good, but also not super happy. So that's kind of the thing with a lot of these books. They're not super happy. Maybe that's why I'm not a big fan of award winners. I have one more for you, and then we're done. And that is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, which won the 2020 Ray Bradbury Prize for Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Speculative Fiction from the LA Times. The LA Times gives out a wide variety of awards every year during the LA Times Festival of Books, which happens in April usually. But this one won for Science Fiction, Fantasy, Speculative Fiction. It's a horror, basically. And follows these 4 American Indian men who there was a disturbing event in their youth, and now it's come back to haunt them, and it's put them kind of on this path of desperation and struggle, and there's an entity bent on revenge, and they're kind of helpless because the culture and traditions that they thought they'd left behind have caught up to them in a really violent way. So if you are down for some horror and some Native American fiction, then absolutely give this one a look. And yeah, there you go. So that is award winners this month. Like I said, sorry that it's such a long video. I was trying to get as many different types of awards in as possible. And so my list just kept growing. And there's still tons of awards that I obviously did not include. So don't think that if you don't read a Pulitzer or a National Book Award winner or a Booker Prize or something like that, that you're not meeting the brief, because you totally are. So pick any type of award winner that you want, even if it's a People's Choice Award winner, maybe especially if it's a People's Choice Award winner. And thank you so much for continuing to read with us over the course of the year. We've only got one more theme to go for the year, so I hope that your reading has been going well. And until next time, happy reading.